People you trust, who you can depend on, who give it to you straight. That's why we're America's choice for news, and nobody else even comes close. America's News Channel.
Welcome back. Mr. Attorney General, we're talking about the media. You don't really get a fair break in the media, do you? Plus, we have these citizen reporters who have these videos of these events, which are quite different than what we get a lot of times from the media, which seems to be sort of censoring the violence. No?
Absolutely. They are projecting a narrative. When the word narrative came into currency, I knew we were in trouble, because the word narrative really suggests that there's no objective truth. There's no real story of what happened. It's just everyone has their own narrative. And you get to then the press can justify presenting a story that doesn't really correspond to objective truth, but it's our narrative. We have a narrative, you have a narrative. I've been appalled at what's on this violence, because it's happening right out in the streets. Anyone with eyes can see what's happening. They see the violence. They see these groups of agitators in their black outfits, and their helmets and their shields, which incidentally have hammer and sickle on them most of the time, rushing the police, causing violence, throwing rocks, the people showing up with the rocks and the frozen bottles. That's happening. That's happening in front of people. You don't see it on any of the national news. You don't see it on the networks. You don't see it on the other cable stations. And yet you hear about these peaceful demonstrators. So it's a lie. The American people are being told a lie by the media.
Or maybe you'll see it rarely, so they can cover themselves and say, see that? But if you don't look fast, you missed it. But you're exactly right. I find the best coverage right now are these brave citizen reporters who go in there with their iPhones. Mm-hmm. Some of them get their brains beaten out. Mm-hmm. They get horribly beaten. And sometimes you'll have situations where the mayor has told the police to stand down and they're getting beaten, and nobody's there to defend them. And it's an amazing thing to watch the media here. You would think the media would be defending even citizen reporters with their iPhones and so forth, but they're not. You think the media, and I've written about this myself, but do you think the media has become so ideological that it's just utterly unreliable, particularly some of these cable shows?
Well, it's reliable. It's reliable for being partisan nowadays, I think. As you and I know, the First Amendment applied to every individual citizen. This was the day of the pamphlet, and everyone's speech is the same. What we're talking here about corporations that are in the media business, and there are a few of them, and they all pretty much toe the party line. The difference in content in terms of the news reporting is all the same. I like it when Fox goes through some of the reporting of each channel, how they use exactly the same phraseology and same talking points, and that's what you see. It's become extremely monolithic, and it's wedded in many ways to the Democratic Party. It's a partisan press, largely.
There's a recent serious research study a couple of professors put out, I think this week, maybe last week, University of Illinois, that undergirds your point. They say there are these bubbles and these micro bubbles. So tiny is the circle that some of these media folks live in, they have no conception about what's going on out there. For instance, I don't see most of the hosts who are commenting on what's going on in Portland. If you're a news person, I would think you're important. Well, we have a correspondent. No, but you're commenting on it all the time. And not as an opinion person, but as a news person. And then you say it's mostly peaceful. What does that mean? That means in some cases it's not, right? Mm-hmm. So you can have a minority, a number of situations where it's not mostly peaceful. That makes it extremely dangerous.
Stand by.
So
this
even the language
Fox
is kind of odd
News,
as far as I'm concerned.
Take the recent example
Foxtel
of us trying to address the upsurge in violent crime that has come along with the demonization.
Better.
Look at that. They put on
I
Japanese
probably
news.
could go back, but I don't want to.
And it's not an accident.
More
it's
than a few
deliberate.
people
They
in Tokyo tend to
pulled the
prioritize
pin on
their
the
work.
program.
but a growing number are following Sato's
Like pulled
example
the pin on the
and moving back to their
interview with Bill
hometowns,
Barr. That's
far from the
disgraceful.
city